Hello again. So, emotional literacy and intuition intertwined somewhat, I'm going to say. And I want to give you 3 reasons why you need to lean into your intuition and your emotional literacy. Thanks for tuning in. So, if it's not enough of a reason to go, well, it's going to improve your relationship with your significant other to be able to deeply relate to them in many ways that you have up to this point maybe not experienced, that is a reason to lean into emotional literacy and your intuition. Reason number 1. Reason number 2 would be, improving the old sex life. Yes. With significant other. Because emotions, intuition, these things do factor in and are significantly important and can improve that. Reason number 3, to improve the rest of your relationships with humanity. If you can relate to people on an emotional level, doors open up for you. It's huge. Okay, but this gets me to reason number 4. Reason number 4 would be the fact that if you have survived a toxic relationship with a toxic personality, maybe a cluster B, maybe a covert narcissist, many of the tactics that are used by said characters tend to undermine emotional literacy, and they tend to undermine intuition. Take, for example, gaslighting. This is a tactic whereby you confuse someone by denying what's happening, lying about what's happening, hiding things, all sorts of sort of communication put to a different use. Communication put, not even communication, I don't want to use that word, language, put to the use of misleading, confusing, etc. And so if you've been in that kind of setting, then likely your intuition has been compromised. Your intuition has been trampled upon, and leaning back into it can be part of the healing trajectory. It can also help you prevent, by having the armor of intuition, help you avoid getting into another relationship like that. I can speak to my own experience. It's been a while now, and I'm still in the healing process, not gonna lie. But, I don't talk about it very much on this channel, but I did walk away from a toxic relationship with a covert narcissist. And that did have me losing sight of, disconnecting, dissociating from my own intuition and my own emotional literacy, whatever emotional literacy that was there to begin with, was sledgehammered, more or less. And so, so what happens, one of the tactics that they use is that they create a disconnect between actions and behaviors and what's happening and your feelings, right? You start to go, well, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling sad, and then they're denying, what has happened, and so you get confused. The key is there is a connection between your feelings and what experiences you're having in the behaviors of another person, or in that interaction with another person. And so learning to reconnect those things is important to the healing process. Also, your intuition can help guide you out of said scenario. That was certainly my experience. My intuition started to wake up. I started having dreams, epic dreams. I even had waking things happen. That sounds highly intelligent there, right? I had things happening that almost felt like a spillover of my dreams in real life. And I'm not kidding you. Where these experiences that were not you couldn't explain it by, well, you know, intellectually we can reason that X, Y, or Z happened. No, I mean, they were on the intuitive level. And as I've been healing, the more I lean back into that, the better it is, the better my life is. It's one, for me, it's a significant part of who I am. I am the kind of person that bends in that direction. I would say from the beginning, I've always been that kind of person. But I got a little lost along the way, partly because growing up, you know, culturally, is this acceptable? You know, you quickly learn, like, don't tell people about those kinds of experiences, Jen. That's just a little weird. And so I kind of pushed away from it. Just, I'm a people pleaser, right? I mean, initially, at least, I'm learning not to be so much, but I was. And so that concern of like, this doesn't, nobody gets this. This doesn't really fit in. I learned to sort of get away from that, and that's who I am. Kind of at my core, that's a big part of me. And the more I lean back towards who I really am, in this case, somebody who does on the intuition spectrum, that tends to be, those are experiences that, one, I have, I would say pretty often, and two, I lean into those. I tend to actually enjoy those. And so why not lean into who you really want to be? That's slowly been occurring to me that this is a good thing. And that, so let me share, like, and this has spilled over into my practice, into my life, as I've leaned into that more and done some healing along those lines, especially with the intuition piece, things that tends to happen more. So, I mean, a recent experience, well, it's not super recent, but I had this experience with a patient where I was, I'd been treating this person for a while for major depression. They were doing quite well, better than they'd done pretty much most of their life, with the naturopathic medicine that I was having them take. And they came in, this was about, you know, a year into treatment. They came in, they were still actually doing pretty well on this medicine. But they had situationally stuff going on, and I always taught that you don't switch somebody to a new medicine unless it's really clear where to go. So, you know, the voice of one of my mentors is echoing in my head, you know, you don't have a good reason. But I had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to switch them to a different, we call them remedies, a different remedy. And it was this remedy that had a lot of grief, that it treats grief. I mean, that's a huge piece of it. And I remember saying to the patient, because I'm pretty honest, and I was like, I'm torn. I have this no good reason, and if I look at my training, there's no good reason why I should switch you off of this medicine that you've been doing really well on. But my gut, this feeling that I have right now, that you need this remedy today, and that I need to have you get this remedy and start taking it, is pretty intense. What do you want to do? That's what I said. I was like, you know, I have this feeling, it's pretty strong, and it was pretty pronounced, and I literally said to them, I have no good reason to have you take this remedy. I can't really point to that. And she was like, well, you know what? You've done well by me so far. Let me pick it up. I was like, pick it up, take a dose. We'll continue kind of with both for now, because I don't want to move you off this, because that's doesn't seem like a good reason, right? Just jump to something else. Later that day, so she leaves my office, she gets the remedy, she starts taking it. Later that day, she texts me, and she said, well, you told me this is for grief, right? I think I know why you had that intuition. My oh, it's 8 o'clock in Denver. People are howling out my window. She was like, I just found out that one of my close family members died suddenly this afternoon. I was like, yeah, it's the #1 remedy for grief. Okay, keep taking it and let me know. It was, and the more, these are bizarre things, right? There's not always a book that tells you this is what to do. And in fact, I was trying to follow my training in the flowchart, which says do not shift the remedy unless you have a good reason, but this gut feeling was pretty intense, and so I trusted that, and it was the right thing to do. I share that because those kinds of things can be the experience of leaning into your intuition. The more familiar you become with the landscape of your developing emotional literacy intertwined with intuition, the more ability you start to have in terms of recognizing when something is occurring or happening on that level, and then you have this option of leaning into it. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this is useful. Adios.